Well, it's a little cool outside this morning, but let's go back to the warmth of summer in north central Pennsylvania as we hike the Loyalsock Trail. That trail is about 58 miles. It's maintained by the Alpine Club of Williamsport. These are all volunteers. And if you want information about this trail, I'm sure you're going to want a lot of it after this program, you can write to the Alpine Club of Williamsport, Post Office Box 501, Williamsport, Pennsylvania, 17703. We'll be providing you with this address throughout the program. And if you want a videotape of the Loyalsock Trail, well, there is one available. That's right, this is it, Doc on the Sock. It's been produced by our guest, Lynne Whelden, and the performer in it, my other guest, Dr. Don Hess. It's about his 6 days, that's right, 6 full days on the trail. The video is available through Lynne Whelden Productions in Canton, Pennsylvania. Now, to the trail and our guest. Boy, the video, you two characters on the trail for 6 days, that had to be interesting. First of all, Lynne, 58 miles in north central Pennsylvania. I know where it's at, you know where it's located, Dr. Hess does. For someone who's not that familiar with the Loyalsock Trail, where would you describe its location?
Well, it's about 10 miles north of Montoursville, which we all know has been getting a lot of national attention, on Route 87. About a third of the trail is in Lycoming County, and the rest of it's in Sullivan County. Sullivan County being the least populated county in our state, so that's why it has such a wilderness character to the trail.
Mm-hmm. So 58 miles would be, I mean, you're talking not as a crow flies, you're talking about quite a bit of wilderness. It's all remote area.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things about the Loyalsock is you certainly have the feel of being in the wilderness, although when you look at a map, there's a lot of roads that are close to it, and there's a couple roads that cross it. So it makes it very easy for somebody who maybe doesn't want to carry all their food for 6 days. If you want to just carry it for a day or two, you can put your car someplace and use it as a resupply point. Mm-hmm. But the trail is known as a backpacker's paradise because it has a little of everything in it.
Like such as?
Wonderful views, waterfalls, state parks. You walk through wilderness areas, beautiful forests, just a little of everything.
And when you see it, you see a lot of the clearing of the trail. Who does that? We're told that the Alpine Club, beginning of each hiking season, which I suppose is in the spring, they go through there on foot with chainsaws, all volunteer work.
Yeah, the heart and soul of any hiking trail in the United States are the clubs that maintain the trails, and these are the people that volunteer to come out with chainsaws and grass whips or whatever in the spring, like you say, or throughout the summer, because there's always blowdowns taking place and weeds are always threatening to cover up the trail. But for anybody that hasn't really experienced backpacking where you're trying to cover a certain number of miles each day and you keep moving rather than camping in one spot, hiking on a maintained trail, a well-maintained trail, is such a wonderful experience because you can get this rhythm going and you can maintain this pace, and you don't have to worry about working your way through all this brush that's grown up, and it's such a pleasant experience, and the Williamsport Alpine Club does a very good job.
And here's Dr. Hess. You're in an emergency room. You're a physician. You're carrying your pager. You're constantly on call. I mean, in fact, the taping of this program was delayed by a week because of your job, and you're out there really alone. I mean, for a complete day or night, that's loneliness in itself, but for 5 or 6 days, it becomes pretty emotional. And you became pretty emotional in that video.
Yes, I did. I began this hike a little overconfident because I had had some previous experience winter camping, and I considered myself a seasoned camper simply because I thought winter camping was the most difficult type of camping that you could do. Little did I know that during the summer months and when I was carrying weight, just walking through the woods rather than skiing through the woods, that my feet would be taking a pounding that I just was not anticipating at all. And so the first few days of this trip was one in which I suddenly became very aware of a lot of different painful areas in my body, including my feet and my knees. And I was able to experience pain and from the perspective of someone who was feeling it. And fortunately, I was able to recover from it and grow through it and enjoy the trail as the days went on.
Yeah, your description of hiking, and in particular the Loyalsock Trail, would people, like Lynne said, maybe do it for a one-day affair one time, maybe an overnighter before trying to do the entire trail? Would that be your advice?
For starters?
Right.
Yes, doing an overnight would, just going for one night and returning, it would be a good way to get started on an activity like this.
Yeah, I noticed the equipment that you had, it didn't seem like that much, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, but when people get into a sport like hiking, is it an expensive sport? I know I enjoy cross-country skiing, mostly because it's the most inexpensive sport in the world. Once you make an investment in your skis, that's it. I mean, there's no lift fees, there's no entry fees or anything like that. You find a trail, you find a logging trail or any kind of a trail, you could ski all day. It costs absolutely nothing. What about backpacking? Someone said, well, gee, I'm going to get involved in hiking. Where do you start?
Well, I'd like to think that my particular approach is the most economical way. I mean, just like anything else, you can go overboard and easily spend $1,000 on gear. But the equipment that I've put together is a very low-tech approach, and I think that somebody that's just starting out could easily assemble what they need for $200-300. Because you have to have some kind of a quality sleeping bag and some good rain gear, and those are going to be your main investments. But it's also something that, if it's good, it's going to last for a long time. So.
When you say rain gear and sleeping bag and all that, you notice you had a tent. Is that a requirement, or what happens sleeping out in the open in a sleeping bag? They don't do that?
That's fine if you don't mind getting wet.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there might be some of it waterproof and so on.
Some hikers will sleep in a hammock with a rain fly over them. I've done that before.
Right.
I prefer a tent because it just seems to keep you a little more dry when the weather gets foul. As far as the expense of backpacking, the sleeping bag that I'm now using, I've been using for the past 20 years. It's something I bought from a friend for $15, and the other equipment that I have after making the initial investment has served me very well, and I mean it's a very inexpensive pursuit.
And it's a summer. Would you say it's more of a summer, maybe late spring, early fall type?
Yeah, I describe it as a three-season sport. I mean, spring, summer, fall. Beyond that,
late spring and early fall. You're probably right. Okay.
But people. I don't want people to get discouraged by even hearing the $200 to $300 figure, because you can make a lot of your own gear. You can make your own sleeping bag, for that matter. You can make your own tent. And there's all kinds of resources to tap into to find out how to do that. So, for people that want to challenge and want to customize something for their own particular body and metabolism or whatever, make it themselves.
The checklist is probably the most important thing, right? If the Alpine Club, would they provide a trail guide? Is there something like a checklist you have to go down the list, matches, water, everything you're going to need? If you're going to get out there for more than 2 or 3 days, you're going to be in trouble if you don't have everything with you.
Yeah, I don't know if the Alpine Club provides a checklist, but there are you know, you can go to any library and get a book on camping, although they're going to give you the traditional view, not to promote my videos, but if they bought some of my how-to videos, they'd learn the right way to do it as opposed to the traditional way.
We're going to have you showing your gear in the second half of the program, you know, just what to take and all that. But what is probably one of the biggest mistakes people make if they go out there? The wrong shoes, wrong socks, what?
Ask
or,
him.
gee, I forgot I didn't bring enough water. And that's, let me tell you one thing about water. I noticed in the video you drank water right out of a stream there. Is that safe?
Lynne,
maybe you should ask her. Or you're the doctor. Go ahead, you tell me.
The public health physician in me would recommend against drinking water right out of a stream. Nowadays, I do carry a water filter to purify the water that I drink, because I'm told that in Pennsylvania there is no safe streams that you can drink out of without running the risk of developing an intestinal illness.
Right.
Although in this video where you see him drinking, I mean, it's a spring and he's taking the water literally 2 feet from where it was coming out of the ground. So it's kind of hard to imagine how water that close to its source could get contaminated.
Well, another thing, when I'm in the outdoors, I enjoy it very much. Lynn knows that. I do a lot of running and skiing and all that. But it's sure nice to get home and take that hot shower at the end of the activity and so on.
That's right.
You guys were out there for 5 days and 5 nights.
Smelling pretty good.
What about hygiene, really? I mean, that's even for one overnight or 2-day trip.
Well, Lynn got me into this this evening routine. After our evening meal, we would heat up a little bit of water, and with our bandanas, would basically wash our face and the other important areas, and even do our hair as well. And it really was quite a nice way of finishing the day and getting yourself cleaned up for bed.
What about food for 5 days, too? Or the kind of food you should take?
Well, you should limit yourself to 2 pounds a day, but that's one of the mistakes that people make right off the bat is they have this fear of starvation. I mean, we all think if we're going to go out to the woods.
What do you mean 2 pounds of food? Do we...
You know, when you're divvying up your food at in your kitchen before you leave, you should make an attempt to weigh out everything that you have, and make sure that it averages out. If you're going to be out for 5 days,
right.
10 pounds of food,
right.
2 pounds of food a day. That's including breakfast, lunch, and supper, and snacks.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it'll suffice.
Yeah.